Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a mouth study based off of this one, but I want it to be a more female study of the lips and the area of the chin just under the nose. I prefer to do the features and have a little bit of the other features so that I can see how one feature molds into the others. And so instead of doing just the lips, I'll have a little bit of the chin, the bottom of the nose. Those things are important for me to understand not just that feature itself, but how it flows into the other features. And so that's what we're going to be working on today. And as a backboard, I just have a simple floor sample that I got from a hardware store. And so that's what I'll be using for adding the clay to. And then for tools, I just have, some of these metal sculpting tools and just a loop tool that I've made. And so that's pretty much all I'll be using as far as tools, mostly be doing it by hand. This will be a 1 hour study of the mouth. I've also got some images that I've downloaded just from Google looking up, closed mouths. And so I just have a bunch of those just to help me work through those features and see some more examples. The more references that you have, the better. So let's get into it. Oh, I should mention that I do have some of these mouths available. I cast this one, and so I cast it in resin. So I made a mold and then cast it. And so if you're interested, sometimes it does help to have a physical reference that you can move around and see and hold in your hand. Sometimes that's a lot more helpful than photos. So if you're interested in that, just contact me through Instagram. Let me know that you'd like one of these mouth references, and I'll get you one. And that is helpful sometimes. Or you can find some on eBay that are different styles, different sculptors that have these similar studies. Sometimes just something physical is a little bit more helpful than images. And so I'll be using this. I'm going to try to make it more female. This is kind of a more masculine structure of the mouth, but I'll be using this as a reference and then some images as well. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so here you can see I've got some clay. Some Chavant medium NSP clay that I'll be using, just an oil-based clay. And I'll be using this as well as some of these references that I have on my phone. And so the first thing that I'm going to do when sculpting the mouth, let me turn so I can see, is just build up kind of the muzzle of the mouth, that kind of barrel shape of the mouth. And so that's the first thing, because the mouth is built on kind of this cylinder shape that that's made up of the bony structures, the teeth and all of that. Let me get a reference. So here you can see just how much those teeth bow out this way and this way. There's a round mass that the mouth is built on top of. And so just having that in place from the beginning is going to be really helpful to make sure that the mouth is built on a rounded plane, not a flat surface. So that's the first step, is just getting kind of this round mass. Do a little bit for the chin, bring it out, and I'd rather have it be, come out too far than not come out enough. I want it to be pretty rounded so I have plenty of space. Most beginners, they err when they're building out these primary forms underneath, that the secondary forms, the lips are built on top of. The tendency is to make these too flat. And so if I want to err on the side of, maybe that they come out too far, because that's an easier thing to fix as we move on and establish those secondary forms. So I'm going to kind of move things over. I want it to be about centered. So here you can see how I'm working it. Okay. I'm going to give an indication of where the bottom of the nose will be. Okay, and that's about right for the kind of that muzzle mound of the mouth. That rounded barrel shape, a little bit of an indication of the chin. I'm going to look at it, look at it from above, look at it from below, be able to see it from lots of different angles to make sure that it's looking right. Okay, now I can start to build out the forms of the lips from the side view. And so I'm just gonna start to do that, just add the shape. I might even draw it in to start with. So I'm looking at these references that I have. It kind of comes up, down, up. I'm going to draw in a center line. This will just help me keep everything symmetrical. And this is just the separation of the lips that I'm trying to get in right now. And I'm trying to capture those shapes that I'm seeing. So that right there is about right for the separation of the lips, the crease of the lips. And so around that, then I can start to build, these soft pillow shapes of the mouth. And if you've seen the Proco video that goes over the structure of the mouth, that's really helpful to understand just what's happening, those forms that the mouth is made up of that you can be looking for. And so there's, there's two pillows on the side, one in the middle, and then two on the bottom. And so I'm just adding those in. Let's do the two on the side that come together. And I'm looking at the mouth at this point, and it looks like I did err on the side of having it be too full. That mound of the mouth is coming out too much, makes it look kind of like a monkey or something, where the mouth is really coming out too far. And so I'll want to smooth out, some of these areas. So add some clay over here so it doesn't look like the lips are over exaggerated. There's another shape to look for, is this kind of W shape under the mouth and lips. You can see it in this one pretty clear that there's this W shape underneath here to look for. And so there's these three, soft pillows over here. There's this separation up here. Also some rounded pillows at the corners of the mouth to look for. And then this W shape above the chin. And so all of those things are things that I'm trying to establish early on, look for and establish early on, to make sure that it's an accurate, insightful study, so that it looks accurate, and so I'm learning about those forms as I go. Let's see. Let me change the reference to see it more from the side view. So I did have those lips, they were coming out too much. So I need to make those adjustments. So then I'm going to add these pillows, these soft pillows on this corner of the mouth. I'm going to establish those on either side. Let's do some more. Up here, still softening this so the mouth isn't coming out too fast, too aggressively. Let's see. Then adding to this W, and I'm adding pretty big pieces. If this is your first time, you might go a little bit slower and add when you're adding these forms onto the sculpture. And you see I'm constantly turning it to try to make sure that I'm accurate in the shapes. And I want to make sure that it's accurate from side to side as well. From side to side and from underneath, looking at that symmetry, making sure that that's accurate. And then with the mouth, there's going to be a sharper transition right here in the middle of that lower lip, and then it's going to soften as it moves out towards the side. So this right now is not looking, it's not looking quite right. It still has that kind of ape feel, that it doesn't look like a human mouth just yet. So that means I need to keep pushing things and moving things around, establishing those shapes. And I think it's mostly because of that muscle that I wanted to err on the side of coming out too much, and looks like that's exactly what I did. And so I want to bring it back to a more accurate, realistic place. Let's see, and this bottom lip should not come out quite as much as the top lip. Well, it does depend on the person. In this reference image I'm seeing, the bottom lip does come out a little bit farther. Okay. Okay, let's see. Then right here, the chin. Trying to make sure that W is in place. W shape. And it's looking like it's probably, one of the other problems might be the symmetry, that the symmetry is off. So I just keep pushing things around. Okay. I'm going to add these nostrils up here. Okay, and that's all of the... Let me grab a little bit more clay. This will probably be all I'll need to finish this up. Okay. Now I'm going to start thinking about how this transition from the upper lip to the lower lip, how it kind of wraps around and tucks in. So it kind of wraps around here and then it tucks in up by where that separation is. So I'm actually gonna, on each side, kind of dig out a little space for that corner of the mouth that digs in a little bit more. That will help me get it in the right place on each side by just kind of digging that out a little bit. Okay, and then I want to do the same thing on the other side. Add that soft shape. Okay, underneath. So pretty soon I'm going to start pushing the details. So it's not there obviously yet. Like, things need to be pushed around quite a bit for this to start to look the way I want. But that's okay. You know, that's expected, that you're going to have to make small adjustments and kind of push things around. And that's what I'll be doing for the next little bit to get things in place from each angle. Okay. Okay, I think I can actually start to, press in, move things around. Still have some soft clay I'll keep in case we need more. But now I'm going to start, focusing on making it a more accurate version. So I'm going to tuck this lip in. And this lip kind of comes and then comes out like that. And then there's a little bit of a transition up here. It's a female. I'm going for a female look, so I want to make sure that these upper lips are nice or that the lips in general are nice and full compared to the size of the chin. Chin should be smaller. Lips larger and fuller typically. Obviously it depends on the person, but just going for a generalized female lips. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of tucking around. Okay. And these areas will need to be quite a bit, smoother of a transition than what I have. I'm going to come in and so when you first add those, pillows, usually they'll be way too exaggerated, and then you have to come and just smooth out those transitions to bring in that subtlety again. The forms are very soft, very subtle, especially in this if it's a younger, female without a lot of creases, and soft, very soft. Everything should be very soft on the forms. And I check from the side view, see if I'm doing, if it's looking right. And the tip of the nose will also typically be angled a little bit more up. This angle right here at the bottom of the nose is usually lower on males and then a little bit up on females. But again, it depends on the person. But I am going for just kind of a generalized, sculpture. I'm going to soften, transition in this area. Let's see. Then I'm going to look at it from below to check that bottom lip. Looks like it was coming over too much one side. That's already looking better. Let's see. Let's actually zoom in a little bit. That you guys can see a little bit more of what's going on. Okay. And you might, from time to time you might need to turn it different angles, upside down. Look at it from all sorts of different angles, being able to reach different areas with with your tools sometimes is helpful. So just by turning it upside down, I can see some areas where it's not quite, symmetrical from one side to the other. And for this one, we want it to be pretty symmetrical. It's not like a facial expression where, corner of the lip is snarled or something like that. It's pretty symmetrical. And so, which is the case for most sculptures will be more symmetrical when it comes to the features, depending on what your style is, how much expression you like to have in your sculptures. Okay, let's see. Gonna make this nose a little bit smaller. It is a female nose. And kind of come around a little bit more. So when you're doing these studies, sometimes you don't have to get into the details of the other features, like get as detailed with the nose or something. Just kind of an indication of what's happening, I think is really useful. Where it is, how far it is from the mouth, and how the planes are passing each other or melding into one another. That's important for these studies for me, to see how one feature relates to the other, and how the forms and the planes, change as it goes from, the mouth to the chin to the mouth, the upper lip to the nose. Those things are helpful. Actually going to put a little bit more of the nose up here, just because I think that'll make it look better. Button nose up here. Some more clay. Bit. Okay. Okay, maybe I'm spending a little bit too much time on the nose, but I do like for those features to match, at least a little bit, in how they're developed. thin that out. Okay. It's looking a little bit better on the nose. All right, let's get back to what we're focusing on, the lips. Okay. Then I'm going to come through and establish that W shape under the mouth a little bit more. Feel like and sometimes it's really pronounced, sometimes it's really soft. I'm going to go for more soft W shape on this one. Pretty soft. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to pause this. Okay. Let's keep it going. Okay. So I feel like this is still looking a little bit too masculine. So I'm not sure what the problem is, but part of it might be that it needs to change the softness. Everything just needs to become more soft. So I'm going to start working on that. So pressing these in. So you can see that I'm just taking the tool and just kind of rolling it over the surface to soften everything, to round off these lips. I'm just, picking it and rolling it as I go across the surface to try to soften everything up, all of those transitions. I felt like it was just not quite right. Let's see. And this flowing form, this shape that kind of, the transition of this lip, it kind of comes around and then tucks in, but it's very soft. If you look from below, from above, it's very soft, and it's kind of S curve that comes around here. And so I want to make sure that I capture that soft, flow from the outside to the inside. Let me get this to be a little bit more secure. Okay. Again, I'm just kind of taking this and rolling it around to capture the nostril at this point. Same thing over here, softening up these transitions. Looking at it from the front to make sure that the nose looks about right. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side, remove some of this mass from that W shape. I'm going to just push the separation between those a little bit. And I'm constantly looking at one of the references that I have to try to, make sure that it's accurate to the reference. And even though there's multiple references, so there's a few different versions, you want to take what you like from each one. And so I'm trying to do that as I fill this out. And I'm going to fill in this inside area a little bit more, soften it. Still trying to soften everything. And that's looking better. You can see that when those forms that are actually there, they're actually, if you look for them, you can see them. But when you put them in at first, they're often way too obvious. They're way too bold. They lack the subtlety and the softness of reality of how the forms actually look. They require a bit of looking and searching for. And so if you put them in too dramatic, it will not be as effective as getting that soft subtlety. That's so interesting. Okay, this is starting to look better on this side. I'm kind of developing one side first, the side that's easier to reach, easier to get to, and then I'll work on the other one. I'm still seeing that W come around, and that chin comes around. I'm actually seeing that the transition here I want it to be a little bit lower. So I'm just going to take some clay and scoop it up here to move that transition down a little bit on that side, and I already like that better. Moving that down. Yeah, that's looking better, actually. And then I'm actually going to bring some clay in and fill in a little bit of this crease to bring the separation a little bit forward. And the crease is softer than it would be in reality, but that's kind of the one way to make it feel a little bit more feminine, those soft transitions. So I'm not too worried about, the actual crease is very sharp in reality, but when you're sculpting, a lot of the times a soft inside corner looks better than a harsh separation. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of what I did on this other side, just moving clay around, that needs to be moved. That feels like it's coming out too far. I'm just slowly pushing that back in. This transition feels, again, too high on that side. I want it to match this other side. It's going to be a soft transition. So soften it up, everything over here. And sometimes changing the angle makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on. The placement is looking about right, but something else feels off, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. Let's see, this transitions coming around there. Well, let me smooth this out, and then maybe I'll be able to see a little bit better what's going on. But with sculpture, a lot of the times it's easier to see, it's easy to see when something's wrong. We're used to looking at faces, we're used to looking at people, the facial features, the eyes, the mouth, the nose. We're familiar with how they should look. And when someone, doesn't look that way, if they're, their eyes are too close together or something like that, like it's something that stands out to us right away, and even more so in artwork. If we notice that, the artist, maybe he didn't quite represent that right, like something just looks off. That's pretty easy to see. What's hard is knowing what to do to fix that. Just noticing that there's a problem is one thing, but then being able to say, the problem is this specifically. It's that this lip is maybe not thick enough in this area, or whatever the problem happens to be with whatever part of the body. Being able to see that and then address it, that's what makes, a great artist and a great eye, is being able to not only see mistakes, but understand what would need to happen for that mistake to be addressed and corrected. And so if you have somebody, that not only is able to see errors that you make in your artwork, but able to give suggestions on how you can fix those errors, like that's really useful. Really useful. Let's see. So nice and soft over here. Soft, soft, soft. Let's look at it from above again. So it is starting to feel better. It does feel more feminine, at least. At least I think it does, than this other one. But it's maybe still not quite where I want it to be yet. Hopefully I can get there in, the last 10 minutes at least, to where it feels a little bit better. Then there's a kind of soft outline of these pillow shapes on the bottom lip. So I'm just going to give a little bit of an indication of that by scraping away some clay. And I'll actually come in and soften that even. Soften that, but just adding it in. That these kind of have a soft outline. And then just like we did before, softening that up. Not bad. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just continuing to, check both sides, the symmetry. Try to get it to match a little bit better. Looking at it upside down helps me see a new angle, kind of some things that are harder to see from the other angle. A mirror works similarly, where it often lets you see mistakes that you can't see, because you get kind of a tunnel vision when you work on something from one angle for too long, and it makes it so that you can't see those errors as easily. actually gonna trim down this just a little bit. Felt a little heavy, a little bit large, that upper lip. So scraping away. Okay. Taking some clay and adding it to this side. Okay. Now I'm just kind of rounding out these areas as well. Softening the chin. Same thing I've been doing of just pressing the tool across the surface and kind of round, pulling that clay round. So it's nice and soft. Okay, and I'm just about out of time for this study. And so I think that's where I'm going to leave it. And so that's where I got to. You know, you can see that. Oh, whoops. That is a 1 hour mouth study with the chin and nose. And, you know, fuller lips, more female is what I was going for. And I'm liking how it looks. Obviously, I can take some more time, develop it further, get it to kind of this point where it's just really developed and everything's just right. But for 1 hour, I feel like that was a good amount of information that I've captured on the mouth. So one female mouth study. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.